I think I see why it is doing that. Um, Somebody said, I bet it's the moon messing with it. Could be. Either that or the ghosts don't want me to talk about this because they actually enjoy the idiots they have to deal with on a weekly basis. What the hell? Okay, hold on one second. Okay, I'm on the website and I had to pause the player because it started playing again. The speaker player. And I was hearing my theme music, which is, yeah, it's good theme music, but it can be distracting when I'm actually trying to talk. Anyhow, um, so what was I even saying? Fuck. Got all distracted there. I said, uh, ghost hunting is fine. Just stay the fuck out of my way. And can't recall where I was going from there. My mind just fucking blinked. Thanks, stupid internet, for distracting me with your ineptitude. See, this is what happens when you try and do a show when you work 6 days a week. You get tired and forget shit. Anyways, uh, so yeah, there's a lot of things that happen on the TV shows that don't necessarily mesh with the reality of what a paranormal investigation actually is. Um, Probably the key point of that is, and this has never happened to me, by the way. Um, I can honestly say, since I formed this team like 3, 4 years ago, or however long ago it was, I don't even fucking remember now. But however long ago I formed this team, we have never once walked away from an investigation anywhere without evidence to show for it. And that, I think, is quite an accomplishment. Uh, and I think a lot of that has to do with our approach because we don't provoke. But I digress. So, yeah, I think there is a lot of discrepancies with that because a lot of people think that in an hour show or 2 hour show that's all there is, that they're only there for a short amount of time. No, there's investigations that go for 6, 8 hours before you get anything. You can't assume that you're going to get something. It has not happened to me in through, well, more than that actually. It hasn't happened to me in like 6 years. In 6 years at least, I have not walked away with either the group I have now or the group I was with before, I've not walked away from an investigation without something to show for it. EVP evidence or visual evidence or something. Has not happened. So, and I think that is, like I said, is all about the approach. But it does happen a lot. It happens to a lot of people, and both provoke those who provoke and those who don't. Um, a lot of it has to do with how well you connect with the spirits, and it happens to be something I'm very gifted at. Um, Other people might be just average at it and may not get something for, like I said, 4, 6, or 8 hours. Um, and there's a lot of times like that when things seem to lull, you know. And it even happens with me, or like, yeah, it's really active like at the beginning of the night, but at the end of the night there's not so much going on. Or the beginning there's nothing going on, and kind of in the middle something starts to happen, and at the end it gets really active. Or shit like that, like where it's not anything that can be predicted. All right, so you can't just assume that you're going to get stuff and then get upset and start provoking because you didn't get stuff. That's how mistakes happen. Because, key point, once again, those 7 dumbasses that from Texas, not that you're a dumbass if you're from Texas, but these dumbasses just happen to be from Texas, uh, that did an investigation in New Orleans, I guess it was like 2 years ago now, where they weren't getting much in the way of evidence or whatever, and uh, they decided to, first off, they decided to get drunk and stoned both before and during the investigation. Weren't getting any evidence and decided it would be a smart idea to light candles in the house, and one of the fucking curtains caught fire and the place basically burnt down. And for 6 months following that event, the city of New Orleans, the city of New Orleans, not the people that run ghost hunts around New Orleans, the city itself, for 6 months, would not allow paranormal investigations within its city. Because of 7 dumbasses that happen to be from Texas. So, and a lot of shit like that goes on all the time, and we hear about some of it, and some of it we don't. But it's all bullshit that doesn't need to happen. Because number one, nobody should ever do a ghost hunt or a paranormal investigation, whatever the fuck you want to call it, if they're under the influence of anything. And I mean any fucking thing. If you've taken a Tylenol, sit the fuck out. Because, number one, you can make a stupid mistake and do damage to the place, yourself, or others. Number two, when you're inebriated or under the influence of anything, you can open yourself up to things like attachment or possession. If you are not operating underneath your full faculties, you could be fucked. And then somebody like me has to show up and pull your ass out of the literal fucking fire and do an exorcism. And trust me, I don't want to do those. They are not fucking fun. I don't enjoy them. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about house cleansings or anything like that. I mean specifically exorcisms, or they're fucked up, trust me. It is a lot of work. A lot of work. And it's like one of those things where, like, I can get almost guarantee. I mean, I've done 430 house cleansings, more than actually, in like 26, 27 years of doing this, and never once had to do a return visit. Meaning that people just didn't bother to call me, meaning that there was no reason to call. Because I handled the shit the first time I went through. And the reason for that is I have absolute faith in myself and my abilities and what I'm doing. So I'm not talking about things like house cleansings. I'm more than happy to come out and do house cleansing, and I don't charge for it, by the way. So if you have shit going on in your house, feel free to contact me. Um, but exorcisms is a totally different thing. It's a totally different ball game altogether, and it is not at all fucking fun. It is so taxing, so fucking exhausting. The last time I had to fucking do one, I slept for 2 days. I don't mean like 2 days where I like got up and got shit to eat and then went back to sleep or got up and went to the bathroom. I mean, I was unconscious for 2 fucking days. At one point, they thought I was dead. So please, please do not allow stupidity to enter even into it at all to that degree. Don't drink, don't smoke weed, don't take a Tylenol, don't take anything before an investigation because you're opening yourself up to possible possession. And I don't want to be the one that has to deal with that. Nobody does. Even Catholic exorcists that do it all the fucking time don't want to fucking do it. Nobody in the right mind wants to deal with that because it is absolutely exhausting. And I don't mean just in a physical way. It's very much in a mental way and in a spiritual way too. It takes a lot out of you. And until you've seen it or experienced it, there's really no way of describing it. So, by all means, all of you listening to me, please do not allow, if you're going to ghost hunt or you're going to be a paranormal investigator, do not allow stupidity to even fucking enter into it at all. Be incredibly bright and in possession of your full faculties if you do this. Seriously. Because I mean, I've seen so many people get fucking hurt doing that kind of shit. And not just themselves, but like others around them. And it really didn't need to even go there. Okay, so anyways, so that's one of the things too that I wanted to bring up is while demons and negative entities, like I said at the beginning, are really kind of rare, doesn't mean they don't exist. And you can never, you can never tell where they'll be a lot of the time. Like, if you see a place where somebody did some kind of like dark black magic ritual, like satanic type shit, that's a good indicator, but that's not necessarily the only kind of situation where things like that might show up. Um, in fact, a lot of the ones that I've had to deal with, uh, it didn't have anything to do with that. They simply popped in through a portal that happened to be in a place. That's happened more than once, actually. And, so even though it is a rarity, I would say it's something to always be prepared for. Because the one time it happens and you're not fucking prepared for it, sorry about your damn luck. The other thing that was going on there for a while, it's kind of lessened quite a bit, but it was really kind of fucking annoying me there for a while with some of these paranormal TV shows, Ghost Adventures in particular, even though, like I said, it's one of my favorites. Um, they had this trend going on there for a while where, like, every child spirit, they were like, well, is it really a child or is it like something demonic pretending to be a child? Because why would a child be haunting? Blah, blah, blah. Um, I'll tell you the reason why a child would be haunting. The same fucking reason most of them are. By choice. I mean, seriously, if you think about it in a logical way, it actually makes fucking sense. Okay, let me point this out to y'all. Okay. Let's say you die. Okay? You die, to use the fucking term I hate, cross over and go to heaven or wherever, right? And you're in heaven, which, yay, heaven is all rainbows and puppies. It would also be incredibly boring, first of all. I mean, if you think about it seriously, and I'm not trying to knock the idea of heaven, really, because I think heaven is actually something that's tailor made, as well as hell, for the individual. Um, that's just my personal thoughts when it comes to that. Um, so I'm not trying to knock that. But at the same time, what point is, being in a place where, yeah, you might get all the chocolate ice cream and puppy kisses you would ever want, but nobody you love is around you. Nothing about life that you took for granted, that you actually loved and never really thought about it that way, is around you. Well, wouldn't you think then that if heaven is really heaven, you would have the option to come back? Even if it's just as a spirit, and visit, or even stay for weeks or months or years or however long you want to. because, and here's the key word, and this is where a lot of Christians kind of get pissed off at me. If it is true, as it says in the Bible, that we were given free will by God, dying does not remove free will. And nowhere in that book, by the way, does it say that it does. Not one spot in that entire book does it say that we lose free will when we die, or even hint at it. And so if I have free will and I'm dead, but my family, everybody I love, everything I loved about life is still here, gee, where the fuck do you think I'm gonna be? And I know you're probably thinking, well, Jay, how's that explain the really, really old spirits, like the ones that have been haunting for hundreds of years? That's easy. That's fucking easy. I can explain that really easy. Because maybe they weren't here for people that they knew in life. Maybe they were here for life itself. Maybe they enjoy watching life to the extent that they don't want to leave it. And it doesn't really matter what their fucking reason is, anyways, because the point is, free will is not something that diminishes the moment we die. And therefore, most hauntings occur, and this is my opinion, you can disagree if you want. I personally think you would be an idiot if you did, but that's me. I personally believe that 99.9999999% of hauntings occur because they choose to be here and not on the other side, heaven or whatever you want to call it. Because, and I'm telling you right now, just me personally, that if I were to die this moment and go to heaven, and there's not bikes and babes with big boobs, I'm coming back. Because, well, what's the point in staying? uh, I think that's the thing, too. And I think it's been kind of a disease. It's been getting a lot better, but it has been kind of a disease in the paranormal TV shows of like kind of like closed mindedness. I mean, like about certain things, like making assumptions and being so dead set that that's the right thing that there's no room for any other explanation. Um, there was a short-lived TV show actually, and by the way, for those that haven't heard me talk about this before, the entire paranormal community should, since last year, be ecstatic. I mean, it should have exploded, really, because of one thing. And it was a short lived TV show. It was called Killer Contact. In their very first episode of their one season, that I think was only like 5 or 6 episodes long, by the way. Their very first one, though, they investigated the Ten Bells pub, which if you're thinking to yourself, that sounds kind of familiar, well, let me tell you why. It's because the Ten Bells is located in Whitechapel, London, England, and it was the favorite haunt, no pun intended, of some of the victims of Jack the Ripper. And it's theorized that it's also one of the places he went himself. Okay. Now, why everything should have exploded and why everybody in the paranormal community should have been ecstatic is because that show, that episode, through communication through a I think it was a K2 meter, which is it measures electromagnetic fields. No, actually, it was a trifield meter, which is the one with the needle. Does the same thing though. Anyways, uh, through communication using that device, they positively identified Jack the Ripper as Aaron Kosminski a full year before DNA did. And oh yeah, that's right. If you haven't heard by now, we know who Jack the Ripper was. There's a lot of closed-minded dipshits trying to dispute it. I don't know how you dispute DNA evidence, but especially when there's everything pointing in one direction. But okay. Um, but yes, some closed-minded dipshits are trying to dispute it. But the fact is as it stands now, DNA evidence has positively identified Jack the Ripper as Aaron Kosminski, and this show did it first, a full year before DNA did. And if that is not something worthy of fucking bragging rights, I don't know what is. But the reason I initially brought up this show is because there was one individual, and I don't remember his name, but his position, I guess, on the team, because he was the provoker. And they did another investigation of this family from Italy, and I'm blanking on the name. Hold on one sec. I'm actually going to look this up because I'm horrible with names. I know the facts, I know the details. I just forget fucking names, and it's weird. Actually, I looked up the wrong thing. Let me see. Lucrezia Borgia. There's the Borgia family. Now, supposedly, Lucrezia Borgia who was the daughter of Pope Rodrigo Borgia, who was the Pope at the time. They were considered one of the most powerful families in in all of Italy at the time, uh, and they were all considered to be evil, by the way, and they were considered the world's first organized crime family. Uh, Locals believe she is one of the most manipulative and evil women in Italian history. Lucrezia herself went down in history as a femme fatale because of the rumors that she used her beauty and sexual allure to bring men to her castle and poison them using arsenic. Now, during this episode uh, of Killer Contact, and hold on, let me let's see. Greg Nicestro, the antagonizer, they called him. Him and Adam Leidenfrost, who they called the Brain, had opposing theories on Lucrezia. And uh, Adam was in the belief that she was actually innocent of what she was being accused of, and evidence actually that he collected had supported that she was actually innocent. She didn't poison anybody. She just happened to be related to some, evil men. And the other guy, Greg, in a full-on asshole dipshit fucking moment, completely disagrees, regardless of what he hears, and says, no, she's an evil bitch, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and she did it, and blah, 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 blah. And it was kind of like the paranormal equivalent of how, like you'll know one thing's true, and you'll be having a conversation about it, and the person you have a conversation about it goes to, like, seeimright.com and pulls out some fucking ludicrous fucking made up fucking quote unquote fact that proves that they're wrong, even though you've actually gotten your information from somewhere more reliable. But they've just got to prove I'm right. It was kind of like one of those kind of things, and it was absolutely fucking ridiculous. But yeah, anyways, so that's why I initially brought up that show, because that happens a lot. Um, People have conflicting ideas, and one person will go, well, no, it says right here in this history book that the Indians started to fight at Wounded Knee. Even though we know now that that's absolute fucking bullshit, and that the entire thing fucking started over a misunderstanding. And for those that don't know about Wounded Knee, I'm going to educate you real quick. Wounded Knee was a massacre of over 200 Native Americans, mainly Lakota Sioux, that were being transported along the Trail of Tears to the reservation at Pine Ridge. They were at Wounded Knee Creek. They had made camp for the night. And the next morning, under orders from the colonel, he was in charge of the whole unit there of the military, the cavalry that were escorting them to the reservation. Under his orders, they were to disarm the natives, which they went to do. And for the most part, it went okay until one of the men went up to this native and said, "Hey, give me your weapon." And he didn't respond. And he tried to pull the weapon away from the guy, and they struggled. What history now knows is that the particular individual, whose name I think was Crazy Bird, was deaf. He couldn't hear the soldier's orders. All he knew is that this guy was trying to pull his rifle away forcefully, and so of course he struggled back and the gun went off, which resulted in the fucking whole slaughter. Now, it was absolute overkill and absolute bullshit that it happened the way that it happened, because, number one, those soldiers should not have just went in there. They should have had them, discuss the matter, had the elders of the tribe discuss the matter with their people and have them line up and willfully disarm themselves. That's what should have fucking happened. That's not what fucking happened, though. They tried to do it their way, and it kind of blew up in everybody's face, and over 200 natives were killed. But history, for the longest time, in the history books, prior to I would say 1970, maybe even 1980, all basically said that the natives started firing on them, which is absolutely not fucking true. So, that kind of also goes back into, be careful, use the history, but be careful about it. Don't just take it at face value. Because a lot of the times what the history is and what the reality is are two different things. And that happens a lot with TV shows too. And it's a thing where they're so set on the history is what actually happened that it misleads them. And if you watch, you can actually see how it misleads them. I mean, yeah, they're getting better about it now, to where we know that the history is the history, and that's that. But it's also starting to get worse again too, and I'm not going to get in the whole reason behind that, because it has to do with politics and them trying to rewrite history to alter points of view and all that bullshit. And I'm not going to get into that whole thing, because that's a topic for a different show. And yes, I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist, by the way, so there's that. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But it's a bad habit that a lot of the shows are starting to fall into, and they think that they're absolutely correct because, well, they spend a lot of money on research. But you spend millions of dollars on research. It doesn't mean shit if what you're researching isn't the absolute truth. Sometimes it is. A lot of the times it probably is. But sometimes it's not, is the point. And all I'm saying is, if you're going to get into paranormal investigating, be careful about falling into that trap. Because if you get the history wrong, it can come back and bite you. In one case I know of, literally. So I always use the history to ask questions and have the spirits either confirm or deny it. And if you're really good, like if you're questioning a murderer of whether or not they actually committed the murder, and they say, no, I would never do something like that, you can tell if they're lying or not. So, point is don't take anything at face value. Like, at all. Ever. Not until you have confirmed it through actual investigating. That's the whole fucking point. That's why we're all there. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of fun, and yeah, it's all that, but it's also meant to be taken seriously. And it bugs me that more people don't. All right, folks, I've got about 4 minutes left. So I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Uh, I don't know if I'm going to be on Sunday night or not. Kind of depends on my work schedule. And at this point, I'm kind of doubting it because I'm working a double both Friday and Saturday. And I'm pretty certain at least one of those days I'm going to be by myself. Because of who they have me scheduled with is not being reliable right now. So uh, I will for sure be on Monday night, though. So until then, my pack, my tribe, peace out.